Well, it's 1 o'clock in the East. And so for everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and hope you're having a great day. My name is Jay Young. I'm with IMAGINiT Technologies, and we're going to get started in just a minute. There's quite a few people on and quite a few more people joining at the moment. Just like everyone so far, I'd like to welcome you to the NASFA webinar. And I'd like to thank you all for joining and supporting NASFA. We're a member-driven organization from all of you states, and thank you all, plus supported by vendors as well. And in that case, today is IMAGINiT Technology. And we have a guest host who's going to be presenting Unlocking the Value of BIM for Owners. But before we do this is kind of a different or strange year in many ways. And we're all getting used to doing webinars and either participating or hosting them as I'm doing today. And in doing that, I'd like to let you know that the NASFA Executive Committee has been working very hard this year because we're not having an in-person conference, but we're going to have a mid-year webinar conference this year that you're, as a member and a vendor, you're all welcome to join, and please do. And that's going to be December 7th through the 11th. So you have and will receive additional emails from NASFA, and I hope you all register for that. So again, that's December 7th through the 11th coming up. So before we get started, I just want to say Joe is going to be welcoming any questions or anything that you have on your mind pertaining to what he's talking about. And please enter that through the chat window on the panel that you're viewing him on. So with that, I'd like to get started and introduce to you Joe Eichenseer with IMAGINiT Technologies, Unlocking the Value of BIM for Owners. So Joe,
awesome.
All yours.
And want to add my comments to Jay's of thanks everybody for taking some time and joining us here today, as we're all working from who knows what different types of places. In the idea of what we have going forward with this concept of BIM for owners, there's some aspects of what we'll be going through that will be fairly maybe typical for what might be a presentation going through what's the background information, what got us to where we are today. But then after that, we'll also be heading into where are things at today, what's possible today to integrate BIM and facilities management in an ongoing place, and a little bit of a look into the future as we're going through it as well. And the concept, if we're looking at what's happening for BIM and owners, well, at an IMAGINiT side, we've been running through a annual survey for a number of years now. We don't have some of the survey results for 2020 yet, but there's been a number of different data points that we've been capturing from people in the industry, AECO industry. So we're talking about people that have been on the owner side, those that are on design, those that are in construction. And as we're looking at all of it, there's a number of things that we've seen as certain trends. And what we see here on this screen is certainly that, where over the last few years, there's been a solid understanding that there's an easy button to be able to go to be able to try and grab asset information, to grab space information from some sort of, we'll say Revit model or BIM in general. And there's, an assumption I have coming into here that everybody's by now got a pretty good idea and understanding of what BIM is all about. One of the things that I'm a little bit happier to see in some of the trends that are coming through here are things like the maintenance schedules are decreasing over time. Because as I'm looking at it, the idea of BIM and in the US and North America, BIM equals Revit by and large. People are understanding more and more as we're coming along that something like maintenance schedules doesn't really belong in a building model. It belongs in your facilities database and maybe some other types of supporting systems, but not in BIM itself, BIM specifically. So it's nice to see that. Other things, there was a little bit of a blurb of people looking into point clouds for a little while of what are we doing with Kobe, some different things that are sticking through there. But really comes through to say the easy low-hanging fruit has been consistent. Those first three items over there for space, asset, and just general manufacturer specs information, and be able to get that type of information out of a model. And that's a trend that we've been seeing through there, and it's been validated. One of the things that if you're a proponent of BIM for facilities management, this type of information stays disturbing, if you want to call it that. This was just the most recent piece, so not showing the trends, but just the most recent data that we had for solid, which was the end of 2019. But what is being provided as deliverables at the end of a project? There's north of 50% being some level of BIM or a model, which is nice, but it's less than the number of CAD files and less than the number of physical paper documents that come around. That's out there, and way less than PDFs. So as we're looking at things and we're taking this and planning it into the idea of what's happening with BIM and facilities management, and taking things beyond design and construction and utilizing the model into operating the building for the next 50, 100, however many years, there's still that gap where we might be receiving things, but we're not actually using them. And the things that we are receiving, the model, that data is way being outshadowed by CAD files and PDFs. There might be really good reasons for that. You might be in a facilities system that doesn't read into a Revit model. You might be doing facilities management by spreadsheet. There's all sorts of different types of things that are out there of reasons why, and completely justifiable reasons why. But it does exist. And even for those that do receive the model, there is some pieces like Ohio State University. They have a BIM mandate, and roughly 90 or more % of their campus has been converted into having a Revit model, but they still have to produce PDFs and DWG files for integration into other systems. So again, there's all sorts of reasons why for a lot of things here, but it doesn't stop the fact that we're still in transition. So however much BIM you have or wherever you are, it's still in transition. And with that idea of there's good reasons why you might or might not be able to or want to make a full-on transition and be able to leverage the data, gets to the idea of understanding, well, what are you receiving? What do you need to be able to manage your facilities? And you might have something typical like this of a floor plan document. We're used to seeing things in 2D. And if I were to tell you, can you tell if this is a 2D or a 3D document? There's no way to tell. And for most situations, if you're just looking at it from I need to see my floor plan, you may not care, to be quite honest. In reality, it can be, or maybe in some places, maybe even should be, the fact that that same thing that you're looking at could be a hybrid of being both 2D and 3D. So one of the things that we're looking at as we're making these different types of transitions is, what are you receiving? What do you need to receive so that you can take whatever is possible and start leveraging it further down through the life cycle of the building? And as we're working through that life cycle of the building, maybe over time, what is this hybrid document where you've got some 2D, 3D data becomes more 3D where appropriate, so that you can understand and see things better, to know that, yeah, there's a pipe roughly here-ish that we need to go in and service, so we can cut through the wall a little bit more strategically instead of just randomly checking spots until you get it right. Stick a camera and a light back there, whatever it might happen to be. So there's all sorts of possibilities and things that are going around. If you want to do that, if we're going to take that and say that this is that reality that we're sitting in today, and you want to be able to make that step and go forward and progress your use of BIM through ongoing facilities management and operations, then there are some things we've got to think of. So in that, what I mentioned in the beginning, we're taking the first step of making sure we've got a solid foundation for what has happened in the past, where are we today, how do we make that transition going into the future. So this is looking at transitions, for lack of better words. And the idea behind it is we need to define what is going to be happening to some degree or another. Now, how we go about it, we'll get into some things of that in a moment, but we need to be thinking about things and define it inside a BIM project execution plan, PxP. There's a few different names for it out there. That's the one that I've chosen for this case. But when we're doing that and you want to be able to leverage this data, you've got to have something that's consistent. And you've got to have all of your vendors, your suppliers, your architects, engineers, contractors, whoever, working with you on it. So my suggestion would be that the first thing you've got to do is establish some data requirements. We'll focus in on that one block in a moment here, but we've got to establish what are your data requirements. And then when you've got that, we communicate that out to your design teams, your construction teams, whomever, and they can go ahead and incorporate those requirements into your BIM, into your Revit models, and hopefully be nice and consistent through there. And got to ask some questions through that, though, of how much data are they obligated, or how much do they need to put into the model versus getting to the next step? Let's say the designers versus the construction team, general and subs, versus yourselves over time. And where is that data entered? There's a bunch of different types of questions that we need to ask, but this is kind of that logical progression of first identify what are your requirements, then turn around and start figuring out who's responsible for putting in that data, for doing the data entry, for doing the coordination, the documentation. In the end, it's probably yourself doing the validation, but let's take these in the kind of a logical step of progressions. If we're focusing in on that first part of your data requirements, then there becomes a spot where we've got to be thinking of how do you define what your requirements are? I've been promoting this for years now, and it's really simple questions of define what data do you need and what do you think you need? Jot it down, get it out there. Identify who's going to be collecting it, those next couple of blocks that we had on that path line. And then who's going to be and how will it be kept up to date? If you can't answer any one of these questions, go back a step. And as you're asking about these things, maybe the data of what do we need means that you're not talking to your director of facilities. You might be talking to your various engineers of what data would you need to be able to better manage this facility that we're working in. How will we collect that data? Is it yourself? Is it the contractors? Is it the design team? All sorts of different possibilities of where we'll come through. And if you can't get somebody to commit to keeping it up to date, don't bother collecting that information, because it will almost immediately, get out of date, be inaccurate. And as soon as you start having inaccurate or incomplete information inside the system, trust in the system starts falling away. So asking these three types of questions to be able to understand how we go about making decisions and what is being collected, how are we going to get it into a system? Now, in that how are we going to get into a system piece, if we're looking at the types of things that can be done today, tools and features inside the system that people are making happen day-to-day basis today, there's some good methods we've got for that. If again, I'm assuming that in the United States, if we're talking about BIM and buildings, we're really talking about Revit. There's a fairly simple thing there. Now, it could also be IFC files. There's all sorts of different possibilities of what can be out there. If we're talking about the Revit side, there's some tools out there that Autodesk puts out related to Revit called the BIM Interoperability tools, which give you nice ways to be able to export information. So if you're using a system that does not have a direct connection capability to Revit, but it does have, everybody should have some level of a COBie import possibility, then we've got tools in here for helping out with a COBie input. If you've got a tool that does accept IFC files, industry foundation classes, it's like a DXF file for BIM. Those types of things might be just exporting from Revit to this other thing that can then be consumed. On the IMAGINiT side, we have a piece of software out there called Clarity, and it does a whole bunch of different things, but one aspect of it is it takes all of the data inside your Revit model and sucks it into a Microsoft SQL database. And then from that SQL database, it's just a data connection problem at that point in time. You can just send it to wherever it's got to go, to various reporting queries, floor plan views, whatever you need to. But there's plenty of tools out there that will allow you to get the information out of Revit and into whatever you happen to be using for facilities. There was a group that we were talking to a number of years ago where they were managing facilities by spreadsheet. So their big interest was, how do I get the information from BIM into this spreadsheet format so we can start tracking assets there, because that was the tool they had. And we need to work with that reality that you are actively in to be able to get it to work. Now, if this is good, so the idea of going from good to better to best, best is always a moving target in something like this, because there's always things that are improving. But this is good. It gets us the data from Revit into your facility system so that we can leverage it to manage it into the future. We're going back to one of those early slides with the idea that the low-hanging fruit is space, assets, and then specs. So taking those things, pulling them through. If we want to move from good to better, the idea of a direct exchange gets us to that better side. This one, you can see it in the screen caps. It's an example using the Archibus facility management system, but it could be any one of those, Maximo or others, that do have the ability to have a direct connection into that Revit model database. And as soon as you can do that, especially once it becomes bidirectional, then that is better, because we're not taking anything and moving it to a staging area and from a staging area to somewhere else. The common thing being, anytime you do a data transform, you increase the risk for data corruption or something getting messed up along the way, loss of fidelity. There's all sorts of ways you can call it. If we're able to get this data exchange where you have a button on one system that says push to my facility system, you have another button that says pull from the facility system. In the facilities program, you have buttons that might have pull from the BIM or push to the BIM. There's all sorts of things, but it's a direct relationship. And now we're starting to get a little bit tighter, a little bit closer. Now, there are some questions that the answers will vary based off of your particular facility management solution that you have in place, of how do you deal with renovation work. I've got a Revit model, and we need to keep both the as it exists today, plus then at some point in the future, bring in what the new configuration is like. There are some workflows that you can do there. There is human intervention required for that, but we can make those things work. Do you need some level of BOMA calculations for areas and back charging for different departments within your facility, or all sorts of things that might come around that we can make happen based off the technical capabilities of your systems. And that's one of the things that you really have to know, is what are the capabilities of the tools that you have in place right now? Is it effectively, hey, we just got to do everything to import, export through Excel? Okay, fine. If that's your reality, we can make it work. But we have to know that so you can take the appropriate actions to put it all together. Now, all of these things that we're looking at are items that are available today and people are doing today. I was talking to one of the guys on our facilities team just today, in fact, this morning. We were talking about some things with a facility software that, if we were thinking back to 2 years ago, we would try to go through this direct read-write link. And we configure everything, set it up, take data field X in Revit, map it to data field Y in the facilities system, get all the configuration up and going. And then it came time to say, okay, let's do the import. We hit the button and then sit back and do a little prayer to hope it would work. Flash forward a couple years to where we are today, it works. It was the difference between something that was bleeding edge technology at some point in time a little while ago to it just works now, which is great. It's wonderful. It helped us out all sorts of things, because we've got data. We've got things that's a fair assumption, not always guaranteed, but it's a fair assumption to say that at least your architects, if not your architects and engineers, are using Revit as part of any sort of building design they have. And if they're in there already, why not grab things like asset information and have it just be a part of that model, so that instead of rekeying things for however many days, hours, weeks, months, whatever it takes to input a new building or a renovation to a building, you can just really now click that button and it comes on in. Now, again, to do that, you have to have the standards in place to understand what data in the BIM is going to translate to what database fields inside your facility system. But that's all, it's a data problem. That's something that's very, very solvable. It's, say it's easy, might be time consuming, but it's an easy thing. We just identify it all. Now, where's it going though? There's a little bit of buzz lately, I'd say largely within the last It's accelerated within the last 6 to 12 months. It's been around before then, but largely in the last 6 to 12 months for the idea of a digital twin. When it first started coming around, my thought on it was, okay, digital twin is just the next version of the name of BIM. It used to be a building information model, and then the contractors got it and they called it VDC, virtual design and construction. And now they're taking the same thing and calling it a digital twin. And I was wrong. That is absolutely not what it's about. The way that I'll broadly talk about it now is that a digital twin is actually taking the idea of BIM and putting it into work, putting it into action. So that if we're looking at all these things, it's actually doing something with the BIM instead of just letting it be halfway static, or it's sitting there and we can do all sorts of wonderful things. I can catch some visualization from it. We can do exit mapping for emergencies. There's all sorts of wonderful things, but it's not interactive. It's not feeling alive. But this idea of the digital twin is, well, it's integrated even further. If in one sense of things, BIM is a data source among many for a facilities management system. When we talk about digital twins, a facilities management system is one data source among many for a digital twin. And it just depends on how, again, it's concepts and how do you want to see it. But the idea of a digital twin is we'll have a virtual representation of your potential and physical assets, as it says here. But then we need to start tying it into different things, tying it into how are people interacting with the real building and have that reflect inside your virtual building. And we can often do that through this just sensors, the idea of the Internet of Things, IoT, where we can have sensors that say, well, like the light fixtures, you walk into a room and there's a motion sensor that says, great, let's turn on the light. If it might be overkill in some places, might be perfect in others, but you can have something that comes around and says, great, somebody moved into this room, the light turned on, and we can go back to this digital twin and flag something in there that says it is now active. People are inside that room, and another person in the same city, in the same building, halfway across the world, wherever it's appropriate for you, can start understanding where activity is happening. There's been different demos and things I've seen where people are taking those types of sensor data that feed and throwing it into live status checks of what's happening inside a building. So you can see an active heat map of what's happening inside any particular floor plan of a building to actively know where are your hot and cold spots without having to wait for somebody to come back and say, well, you know, and whatever else is going on. To be able to understand where people are, what are the more heavily trafficked rooms. In the world we're living in today, that becomes a little bit more important for the sake of cleaning and sanitization. If we're looking at all these different things, it's like a check engine light for all the rest of your building assets, where we can take these things and quickly understand what's happening and then have all this other sensor data feed. So it's not just that there's a problem with equipment X, but we know here's what is feeding into the types of problems. So we know when the engineer goes out to service whatever is going on, there's a lot more data, a lot more information that they can use to drive what's going on. And we can do it all through a lot of existing networks. So is it a wired sensor? Is it a wireless sensor? There's a piece that we've got from some software and technology that we've been working with where we just need to have the network up and running, and then these beacons can triangulate where they are based off of the different wireless access points, so you can understand where are all of your pieces of mobile equipment based off of a location sensor and feed that into this idea of a digital twin. Even Autodesk yesterday, today's Thursday, so it'll be Monday or Tuesday, I'm sorry, so 2 days ago, announced a piece of software that they have that there's just into beta form right now. There's announcements all around, so I'm not saying anything that's not allowed, but this product called Tandem was all about sending data from one place to another. So there were pieces where I've seen companies that are building products around the idea of a digital twin based off of the Unreal Engine, off of Unity, off of Autodesk platforms. There's all sorts of things going through there. But this is, in my opinion, where that future is coming around, where the current side of BIM integration with FM is just with data import and pushing things back and forth. But as we move into this idea of a digital twin, It becomes more and more live data where there's less push and pull. It just is. And you've got that virtual replication of the real building in real time, in real space, whether it's commercial, industrial, if it's at a city scale, if it's at a room scale, there's all sorts of places and possibilities what can happen. But in order for this to happen, and this goes back to what do we need to do make it happen, to make it work, you have to have standards. If we don't have standards in place, this idea of a digital twin, the idea of sharing data with BIM and facilities just does not work. And like I've said a few different times here, you can tell there's certain themes coming through here. It is all about the idea of understanding how your data gets connected. We've got a field or a property in BIM that's called room number, but you've got a field or a property inside your facilities database that's called room ID code, or however it needs to come around. There's easy ways to go through and identify, here's my properties in one source, here's how they are in the other, and how they need to map. And maybe even in some places, we need to combine a couple pieces of data from one location and bring it into the other. It's a exercise to go through, but it's pretty straightforward. Now, it takes some effort to make it happen, to build in the tie-ins, and how you do that, again, depends on the particular piece of software that you're using, but it is there. The standards have to be in place for us to go through that and make it work. Now, as we're identifying standards, trying to make things work, we don't have to, in my opinion, take everything all at once and try to take this big lump of data that we've got, tie it into what you've got, and identify every single process, standard, or procedure, identify all the people that you've got, and figure out the entire solution before you implement it. That's not really going to work, because you're going to miss. When I created this animation on this next piece of the slide, all the circles missed and they overlapped too far. And it's like, I was going to fix that. And it's like, no, let's not fix it, because it's still true. We're going to miss. The idea is, let's take a shot. Let's move forward with something and then bring it back together. Because if we've got a target to aim at and we're taking a shot at it, it'll get us close. It's not rocket science. We have to have a plan to get it together, but we'll take a shot. We'll get a little bit closer, take another shot, get closer, take another shot. Maybe we hit the bullseye first time. Maybe we hit the bullseye third time. But we've got to have a plan to be able to get there and just start doing things to be able to get going to it. And if we've got all that going on with everything else in your life, this can be a big daunting task, right? We're talking about massive amounts of data, perhaps, setting up standards for who knows what, and we've got no budget to get things done. There's challenges coming our way. What I'll argue is that the whole, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? There's any number of different ways we've got through that, but you don't have to take it all at once. Take a step, pick a building and model it. We don't have any standards. Okay, that's fine. Use whatever comes out of a box. Engage with somebody like IMAGINiT and get some baseline things in place that might not be, probably won't be your final set of standards, but get it going and get something out there faster than normal. Instead of spending 6 months, 12 months, 2 years building up a standard, let's take 6 weeks, get people trained up and a building in place. Now that you've got something in there, let's start looking at this. What worked? What didn't work? Where do you see the benefits in BIM for facilities, for your organization? And then once you get that, figure out, what are you going to do again? What worked and you liked? What are you not going to do again? What do you need to change before you give it another try? One of the things I've said from our business case is, there aren't going to be many things that I won't try at least once from a business standpoint. Let's justify it. Let's think about it, but let's give it a try. We might not do it again, but let's at least think about that and give it a try once. And then maybe we'll say, that was okay. Now let's adjust and get a little bit closer. Let's tweak it to get better into place, but let's do something to just start taking action. If we're not taking action, then it's not going to go anywhere. Once you've got that first step, then start massaging it into place. Get started and then adjust. Just do it. We've got to start somewhere. And if we get into this analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis, then it will be 2 years down the road and we're finally out, pushing something out and it's already out of date because now all the different sensors are integrating with digital twins and we were just planning on the BIM to FM data push-pull. So there's all sorts of things through there that we've got to plan for. And know that you're not alone. You've got everybody that's here inside the NASFA organization, you've got IMAGINiT to be able to help out with this. From the IMAGINiT side, we're helping people with pilot projects, training, consulting, migration, all sorts of these things, just to be able to get it done. Helping somebody take something that might have been a 6-month process, let's get it started and moving within 6 weeks, so that we've got a data point to focus on and say, where are we good now? Okay, what's our adjustment to get to the next milestone? Because that's really what a lot of it comes down to when we're dealing with hundreds of thousands and millions of square feet. We can't do it all at once. We've got to be able to start and make our way through there and leverage whatever sources you have for help. So as it's saying, and Jay mentioned in the chat window, let's take any questions that you might have. I know this was fast. This was super fast. It's only half an hour. The intent is to go and give you just the blast of what's through here. If you've got any questions, if you could type them into the chat panel, I'll take it through there, read them out and come back through. But the idea that I'd really want to reinforce as we're looking at this, as you might be typing away madly to get your question in on time, is you have to think about what data do you need, who's going to collect it, who's going to keep it up to date. Those are going to be 3 key questions. As you're doing that, start small. Just pick a building, model it up, and then evaluate that to say what was good, what was not good, and let's refine our solution. And it won't take too many iterations before you've got something that's nice and solid. And that way, that process that you have, when something next comes in, you're moving to digital twins, you can just take that new piece of the puzzle and add it to the mix and keep on massaging, continual process improvement. There's all sorts of different buzzwords we can throw into there. But at some point in time, it's just, you got to start. You got to take that first step forward. There's going to be problems with it. There's going to be things that are wrong, but you took that and you're one step closer. So I'll say thank you very much, everybody. If you've got any other questions, reach out to us. We'll take that through there, but I'm not seeing anything. There's one. What's our experience in training facilities for service for adoption? Generally good. I will say that our experience, as we've gone through that, there's sometimes generational, sometimes other things that are coming through that divide people into being much more interested versus less interested. But by and large, as we've been engaging with it, the big thing is to make sure that we're introducing what all the values are that are coming from here and making it work. I know that we're at the end of our time here. We'll probably have to take any other questions that people are hurriedly typing in and start to answer them privately, because I want to be respectful for the time and the constraints that we had on this session that we had here. If you've got any of those other questions, info@RAND, or reach out to any of us through here, to Jay, to others. And we'll look to answer any of the other questions that we've got here. So I'll say thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time and the quick half hour we had together.
Hey, Joe, thank you. On the behalf of IMAGINiT, on the behalf of NASFA, and I want to thank everybody for being here today. And please register for the mid-year NASFA conference coming up in 2 weeks. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Take care.